What's good, everyone, and welcome back to another reaction video. Today, we are reacting to when lucky people find the most unexpected things. And yeah, that's it, really. It's just being very lucky and finding something in this one, in a spot, location, item, or something along those lines, and you're super lucky about what it is. And it's probably could be the least unexpected thing you could expect. Yeah, honestly, the towel really gives that way. Anyway, like comment, like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed this reaction video. Hit the notification button to be notified immediately when your video comes out. If there's any videos you'd like to recommend that I should react to, put it down in the comment section below, and I'll react to it as soon as possible. Now, with this all said, let's get right into this video. Oh, wait, the link to this video is down in the description below. So be sure to give BMA some love and support for the video that they made. I almost forgot that. So yeah, be sure to give BMA some love and support. Now, let's get right into this video, shall we?
From tanks filled with lost gold to 80-foot pythons and
What?
thrift store finds that turned out to be worth millions, as well as whatever the heck these things are. Today, we're going to dig up some more of the craziest times people found the most unexpected things. For two friends in Cleveland, Ohio, some routine redecorating uncovered something so astonishing stashed in a bathroom wall, it changed their lives forever and obliterated their friendship. In 2006, builder Bob Kitts was smashing up a bathroom for his old school friend, Amanda Reese, when he found two large medicine chests hidden in a wall. He opened the chests, and to his surprise, they were full of envelopes, all addressed to the Patrick Dunn News Agency. More importantly, each one was filled with cold, hard cash. All in all, there was $157,000 in there, with an additional $25K in an unmarked box. What's more, since the money dated back to the Prohibition era, plus it included some rare $501,000 bills, it was estimated that the stash could be sold for as much as $500,000. The two friends were initially thrilled, but this is where the trouble began. Amanda offered Bob 10% of the money and wanted 40. The estate of P. Dunn News Agency found out about it, and they wanted a piece too. Guys, please, just hand it over to me, and I'll take care of it. A long and messy legal battle ensued, but by the time the case made it to court, Amanda had actually lost all but $25.3 thousand of the cash due to a mixture of her spending it and having some allegedly stolen from her.
Sure, Jan.
In fact, she was even considering filing for bankruptcy.
Bankruptcy!
Man, if having $25K is considered bankrupt, I should phone my lawyer. She renounced her claim to the rest, so it was split between Bob and the 21 descendants of Mr. Patrick Dunn. Where was all this enthusiasm from the 21 descendants when it was Peepaw Patrick's ballet recital, huh? It's estimated that if the $25.3 thousand was sold at an appraised value of $38.6 thousand, the heirs would have each ended up with $1.5K and Bob with $5K, which is a devastating decrease from the $250K he'd been imagining. Worst part is, if Amanda and Bob had just kept quiet and resolved the issue privately, the heirs would have never found out, and they wouldn't have had to split it so many ways. In the media, this find became known as the Wall of Greed hoard. And I bet the two friends wish they'd kept their mouths shut now. In 2017, military tank collector Nick Mead's unusual hobby led him to make a discovery so insane, it exploded onto headlines around the world. It all started when Nick found a decommissioned Iraqi Type 69 tank listed for $40,000 from eBay that had been used in the first Gulf War. Nick got in touch with the seller and wound up trading a British Army truck and an Abbott self-propelled howitzer for the tank. Dang, you really can buy anything on eBay. But this tank came with huge secrets of its own. When Nick and his team opened her up, they were surprised to find machine gun ammo still inside. But the biggest surprise came when they opened up the diesel fuel tanks, where they found 5 solid gold bars inside. The gold was believed to have been looted by Iraqi soldiers in Kuwait, who'd evidently cut a hole in the fuel tank and stuffed the loot in, and never ending up retrieving it. Each gold bar weighed 12 pounds, and together they were worth a casual $2.7 million.
Wait. Where is this again? Because if I remember right, the appraisal of gold has a different method when it comes to when it comes to appraising. Like, it involves a different pound system. Like, something being 12 ounces in American is, I don't know. Basically, the one method to appraise gold in ounces, the American version is greater because the ounces for gold is a lot smaller, but when appraising gold with this term method, it's a lot larger than an American pound. At least that's what I remember.
Bucks. Now, being a responsible citizen, Nick didn't immediately fake his own death and run off with it, but rather reported the find to the authorities. The police were sent over to collect the gold bars and left Meade with only a receipt. And then, nothing. In 2024, 7 years after his discovery, Nick revealed that he still hadn't seen a single penny as a result of his amazing discovery. Not even a finder's fee. From $2 million to nil is pretty gutting, but Nick theorized it was just because the authorities were still trying to track down the rightful owners of the gold. Yeah, sure. Just wait until the local government starts posting about their new solid gold statue. I'm sure Nick regrets not faking his death now. While widening a road in the Chinese city of Taiju in 2011, workers struck a strange object buried 6 feet beneath the surface. And they were baffled, as the object was not listed in any records, meaning it was potentially older than the city itself. It appeared at first to be an inexplicable concrete block, but when archaeologists arrived, they realized the truth. The archaeologists found the box had a lid, and opening it revealed, beneath layers of linens and fabrics, an incredibly well-preserved mummy. So well-preserved, in fact, that she still had eyelashes. Based on the jewelry and preservation techniques, the archaeologists determined that the woman, thought to be a prominent member of the Ming dynasty, had lived around 700 years ago. But as far as well-preserved mummies uncovered by unwitting construction workers go, no one compares to Jin-Jui, who was found in 1971. Now considered one of the most important archaeological discoveries of the 20th century, this ancient Chinese mummy not only retained her hair and eyelashes, but there was still blood in her veins and undigested melon seeds in her stomach. In fact, she was so well preserved that she looked like a human who died only a few days ago. But Jin-Jui is actually more than 2,000 years old, having died in 163 BC. She lived an opulent life during the Han Dynasty and died aged 50 as a result of obesity, lack of exercise, and bad diet. Bet she would have loved a TV dinner. Her preservation is chalked up to the airtight crypt she was discovered in. So airtight, researchers believed a flame had been lit in the crypt before it was sealed, so that it would eat up all the existing oxygen trapped inside before extinguishing. As a result, even just opening the crypt to uncover her deteriorated her a little. But still, Jin-Jui is regarded as the best preserved mummy in human history. So if you want to look this good when you're 2,000, it might be time to rethink your skincare routine. In 1992, a farmer in Suffolk.
That's crazy. I didn't think such a method could. Actually, I didn't think a method like that would exist to preserve a mummy.
England,
That's
called
so
Peter
cool.
Watling, lost his favorite hammer out in a field one day. But what he got in return made him a multimillionaire and shocked his entire country. He called upon his friend Eric Laws, who had a metal detector, to help him find the lost tool. And Eric was scanning one of his friend's fields when the detector's alarm sounded. But it wasn't his hammer. It was actually a small silver coin. Intrigued, Eric dug some more, and he found a gold necklace and enough coins to fill 2 grocery bags. It soon became clear it was time to call in the archaeologists, but those 2 grocery bags were just the tip of the iceberg. They had stumbled upon what turned out to be the largest cache of ancient Roman treasure ever found. It included 60 pounds of gold and silver objects, including 15,000 coins, dozens of silver spoons, and 200 pieces of gold, all dating back as early as the year 400 CE. This became known as the Hoxton Hoard. Eric was awarded $2.3 million for the find, equal to around $6 million today, which he split with Peter. And most important, Peter ended up finding his hammer. It's currently on display in the British Museum alongside the rest of the treasure, so sadly,
that's
he'll
cool.
have to stick to his second favorite hammer from here on out. While carrying out road repair,
Maybe, but still, the fact that item that you use is on history display, well, is displayed in a museum full of history, that's actually pretty cool.
in the Chinese city of Heiyuan, workers came across something astonishing. Mere feet below the sidewalk lay 43 fossilized dinosaur eggs, 19 of which were fully intact. Each of the eggs ranged from 4 to 5 inches in diameter, and while the species remains unidentified, beyond likely belonging to the Oviraptoridae subgroup, their preservation in such a built-up area astounded archaeologists. The red sandstone in which they were encased has preserved many other specimens of this kind in more rural areas of the city, but nowhere nearly as central as this. Amazingly, the Heiyuan Dinosaur Museum claim more than 17,000 fossilized eggs have been found in the city since 1996. The city has even dubbed itself China's home of dinosaurs. In a devious twist, however, one worker on the scene attempted a not-so-great eggscape with 2 of the specimens, but was stopped by a crowd of locals.
Stop! You violated the law.
Amazingly, they formed a human chain around the site until the artifacts could be safely taken away for examination. A heartwarming unity of discovery inspired, it seems, flipped the community's sunny side up. Across Australia, there are hundreds of miles of gold fields, plains of land with trillions of dollars worth of gold buried underneath. They were mined heavily during the gold rush era starting in the mid-19th century, but to this day, people still comb the earth looking for any treasure that might have been missed. And occasionally, they hit the mother lode. This was true for an anonymous man digging around Western Australia with a metal detector when he struck gold, literally. Lying a few feet under clay, taking 2 hours to dig out, was a gold nugget. But not just any, the nugget. The whole thing weighed 7 pounds, 4.6 pounds of which was pure gold. It's thought to be worth about 110,000 Australian dollars, roughly $78,000 US. It's been nicknamed the duck's foot due to its shape. And I'm not sure what ducks Australia has over there that have feet that look like this, but if it's anything like their spiders, remind me never to visit. Swaziland is also home to the Royal One opal. It was found by an Australian miner called Bobby, who was actually 1 day away from retirement when he found it. What's even crazier is that Bobby found it under a foot of dirt at the bottom of the same mine where he'd been working for his whole career. Now, if I found an opal that size, the first thing I'd do is get it appraised and rake in my millions. But Bobby actually kept it hidden for 14 years before finally revealing it to jeweler Catherine Jetter to find a suitable seller. It's 306 carats and estimated to be worth around $3 million. If I'd known I'd wasted years slaving away when my retirement fund was directly beneath my feet, I think I'd want a refund on my
It
time.
makes sense.
At some point in the early 2000s, an anonymous man from the American Midwest purchased a mysterious golden orb decorated with gems for $14,000 from a flea market, planning to melt it down and sell the parts for a $500 profit. But all potential buyers offered him less than what he paid for it, so he just kept it at his home on his mantelpiece as a reminder of his failures. But then, in 2011, the man stumbled across an article from the Telegraph detailing how a Fabergé imperial egg had accidentally been sold at auction. And the image in the article was none other than the golden orb on his mantelpiece. Now, if you didn't know, Fabergé eggs were a series of hugely ornate, decorative eggs made of precious metals and jewels by Peter Fabergé, made throughout the end of the 19th and early 20th centuries. 50 of them were produced for the Russian Tsar family, but only 42 are believed to have survived the Bolshevik Revolution in 1917. So, the fact that one ended up on just some guy's mantelpiece is like the crown jewels being used as a doorstop. And that some guy in this story sold it for an estimated $33 million, which is a lot more than the $500 profit he thought he would make. Spare a thought for the guy who sold it for $14,000, though. One man's trash is another man's treasure, and that's why the best place to find hidden gems are flea markets and the thrift store, of course.
I mean, not
Garage
wrong.
sales like the one where in 1989 a man in Pennsylvania bought a painting for $4. He hated the painting, but liked the frame, so he removed the picture and put a new one inside. However, underneath was an old document, which turned out to be a mint condition copy of the Declaration of Independence from 1776, one of only 25 that were made at the time. He sold it for a whopping $2.2 million, which is around $5 million in today's money. The same document sold again in 2000 for $7 million. Then, in 2006, Michael Sparks from Nashville purchased a yellowing copy of the Declaration from a thrift shop because he liked the look of it for just $2.48. Intrigued by his purchase, he decided to get it looked at by an expert. It turned out Michael had bought a lost 1820 copy of the Declaration, commissioned by John Quincy Adams, one of only 200 existing copies. When he sold it, Michael netted just under $500,000. How's that for constitutional? This next story's...
Jeez. I didn't know that there were copies like that out in the world. Holy cow. Well, I guess more around America, but still, jeez.
So lucky, it'll bring a tear to your eye. In 2015, Georgie Baragiani's dog George went missing from their home in Tbilisi, Georgia. Tragically, years passed with no sign of his dog, but Georgie never gave up faith, and sure enough, 3 years later, one of the neighbors who worked at a business in town spotted a stray dog outside that looked just like George. The neighbor immediately phoned Georgie, and their loving reunion was caught on video.
Georgie! Georgie!
Doesn't that make you just feel so warm and gooey? Meet Tony Marone,
amazing.
a California man who believed he was set to inherit millions from a humble garage sale find. See, in 2008, Tony paid $5 for a box stuffed with random documents. When he sorted through the papers, he found a stock certificate for 1,625 shares in the Palmer Oil Company, issued in 1924. Now, since the certificate was issued, Palmer merged with another company who had merged and merged again until they were bought up by the Coca-Cola Company.
What?
Essentially, what this meant was that Tony now had 1.8 million shares in Coke, worth around $130 million. This would make Tony the largest non-institutional shareholder in Coca-Cola. Coke, obviously, was not too pleased. They dismissed Tony's demands, calling them absurd, and phoned in the lawyer. Unfortunately, Tony never lived to see his dream of cashing in his millions realized, as he passed away in 2010 before the legal battle could come to a conclusion. No, maybe the timing was a good thing, because in 2012, his family lost the case anyway. This came after investigations found that various business decisions and restructurings by the now defunct Palmer Oil Company had severely diluted the value of the original stock, even before the subsequent sales and resales of the company, which diluted it even further, reducing the certificate's value to essentially zero. No, man.
Okay.
Well, at least Tony died with his dream still intact. Honey, a fish
not
stole my
wrong.
wedding ring is a very real thing Nathan Reeves might have told his wife Susie in 2020 after a swim off the coast of Australia. Well, kinda. He initially just lost the $1,000 ring without a trace while swimming. But the full picture is much closer than you'd expect. Only a few months later, in 2021, while snorkeling one day, a woman named Susan Pryor spotted Nathan's ring around the body of a mullet fish and was able to track down the couple via Facebook to let them know. Unfortunately, Susan wasn't able to catch the fish that day, and it's unknown if the couple was ever to get the ring back, but hey, at least there's confirmation of its new home, and someone gets to wear it. It's not the first time a sea creature has co-opted some bling. In 2024, Theo Wanderitz was swimming off the coast of Sweden when his engagement ring slipped off. Immediately, he posted to Facebook asking if anyone could retrieve the ring for him and got connected with a diver named Jim Bruce. 3 days later, Jim found the ring. He also found a starfish nearby and decided it would be funny to put the ring on the starfish and snap a picture. Classic Jim the jokester. Well, the picture went viral alongside the narrative that Jim had found the ring like that. And while it's not exactly true, it's still a funny picture. And the fact that Theo managed to recover his engagement ring at all is truly incredible. Though I do think this means that his fiancée is now engaged to a starfish. Adam Hastings, a 22-year-old from the UK, found something absolutely insane when he tried out magnet fishing for the first time at a lake in Pitfall Park, Cheltenham. He felt a clang as his magnet made contact with something big underwater. As he hauled the beast out of the depths, he realized it was a safe, which turned out to be from a robbery. Adam even found another large magnet in the water, confirming his suspicions. It seems the robbers went back to the dumping spot in the hope of retrieving their stolen safe, but had failed miserably, leaving their magnet in the mud. Inside the safe were watches, military medals, and jewelry. Many of the items were worth hundreds of dollars. But Adam did the noble thing and turned it all over to the police to be given back to the rightful owner. In Willy Wonka's chocolate factory, the walls are made of candy. In this house in Winburn, Pennsylvania, the walls were made of money. It had been abandoned for 20 years when the children of the couple that lived there decided to take a friend to go see what was inside. Within minutes of entering the house, they found a small pile of coins on the floor by a wall. As they explored further, they found a hole in the wall. Recalling a distant childhood rumor about their parents storing loose change in the walls, they opened it up, and an unbelievable number of coins flowed out. Once they counted all the coins, it added up to $8,500. However, because many of the coins were rare collector's items, minted between 1793 and 1857, the real value of their haul was around $200,000. Who needs a bank when you've got a money wall? During construction of a new nanotechnology,
I mean, it depends, I guess. Like, if the money was like coins from that are high value, then yeah, it would be great.
building in Massachusetts Institute of
Dollar
Technology in
bills of this
2015,
era, I don't know,
workers
really.
uncovered a peculiar sealed
kind of?
glass container. Some investigation revealed it to be a time capsule buried in 1957 to commemorate the opening of several new labs and the impending launch of Sputnik. The capsule contained scientific papers and paraphernalia, including a mysterious electronic device called a cryotron, which had been
what?
expected to revolutionize the computing world. It never did, no. Which means the future is probably as disappointing for those MIT professors as it is for us. Hoverboards and flying cars were supposed to arrive in 2015, and look what we got. Anyway, the capsule was
You're not
buried for
wrong.
58 years, but bore strict demand on the front. Do not open until 2957. We were 942 years early when we opened it, earning us another disappointed look from the ghosts of science past. If cruise ships are the
mean, not
hotels of
wrong.
the sea, what does that make ships found under hotels on land? This case from
Excuse me?
Alexandria, Virginia in 2016 raises this odd question and many more. During construction
What?
of the Riverside Hotel Indigo, a large, heavy ship that sailed between 1775 and 1798 was discovered. After construction workers initially happened upon the ship's bow, archaeologists took over, unearthing the almost 50-foot-long remnant of an era long past. What's more amazing is that the wood barely decayed in all those years, since oxygen couldn't reach it in its muddy grave, keeping decay-causing bacteria at bay. The ship was originally used for either cargo or military purposes, but mysteriously there was no documentation of any boat this size in old city records. Did somebody say Peter Pan's Jolly Roger? Anyway, only 2 years later, in 2018, 3 more ships, similarly dating back to the 18th century, were uncovered only a stone's throw away at another construction site. You gotta be shipping me. But the discovery of these ships actually helped shed some light on how the heck they ended up there. Namely, to extend the shoreline. Yeah, back in the olden days, Alexandria's coast looked more like this. So, to create an optimized international port in the Potomac River, old ship remnants were used to create new land. But even more unusual was the discovery of a shipwreck at Ground Zero in the middle of Lower Manhattan. In July 2010, construction workers uncovered the ship during reconstruction at the former site of the World Trade Center, 22 feet below street level. Analysis of the rings in the wood suggested the ship was constructed around 1773 in Philadelphia. While it's unclear whether the ship sank accidentally or was intentionally submerged to help extend the Manhattan coastline, a historic sea vessel was the last thing those workers expected to unearth. And now, it's on display at the New York State Museum.
Oh,
Over in Mexico, an
that's cool.
unexpected discovery was unearthed that'll completely
That sounds really cool, in all honesty. I really do want to kind of see that now. Maybe one day.
change your understanding of one of the world's most popular forms of entertainment. In an unbelievable coincidence, while digging foundations for a new basketball court in Yucatan, Mexico in 2012, workers came across an intriguing find: another ball game court. Only this one was centuries old. The buried court had been used for the Mayan ball game, of a variety that was regularly used to settle political disputes in pre-Hispanic Mexican civilization from between 250 BC to 600 AD, aka over 2,000 years ago. Players attempted to bounce a rubber ball through stone hoops attached to the sides of the court without using their hands. However, unlike the NBA today, losing one of these games could be a matter of life and death. On occasion, prisoners on death row would play the game
First time.
and get sacrificed afterwards, which is definitely one way of spending your last moments. I'd take a final meal over a final phys ed class anytime, thanks. Well, if we ever get bored of the NBA, at least we know how we can raise the stakes. In January 2025, Tim King was remodeling a bathroom when he decided to peek inside the wall before he sealed it up with drywall. And lucky he did, because he ended up finding a Christmas present from 1978, aka 46 years before, with his name on it. Spooky. Well, it turns out the house he was remodeling was his parents' house that he'd grown up in. The gift had presumably fallen down inside the wall, as his parents used to hide Christmas presents in the attic. Sorry, Santa used to hide Christmas presents in the attic, obviously. And what was this gift that stayed hidden for nearly 46 years? A set of Matchbox Thunder Jets, of course. In December 2016, the German city of Augsburg received a rather explosive early Christmas present. A week before St. Nick came to town, a live 2-ton British Royal Air Force bomb was uncovered by construction workers in the heart of the city. But despite Britain's twisted sense of humor, it wasn't a mean-spirited Christmas prank. It had been there for over 70 years. Augsburg was heavily bombed during World War II, and this was the biggest bomb ever found in the city. It's incredible that it hadn't exploded in all that time, but it made the threat even more serious. 54,000 people evacuated their homes, while 2 bomb specialists toiled for 4 hours to make the device safe. Talk about a ground-shattering discovery. Fresno property owner Tim Jones hit the jackpot when he hired a construction team to renovate his new investment, a former jewelry store. While removing some old shelves, a worker stumbled across multiple stashed envelopes brimming with diamonds. Luckily for Jones, the honest worker handed them straight over. The previous owner, who passed away 6 years before the find, appeared to have hidden the jewels for a later purpose, but never got a chance to retrieve them. After his death, the family sold the business, though I bet they wish they'd done a more thorough sweep before they did. The previous owner's daughter attempted to claim the diamonds, but as the building's sale had already gone through, she was too late. I don't blame her for trying. After all, who'd have thought some old shelves could be worth so much? You may look at this picture and think,
"Oh my God, what is that?"
while they certainly look like alien larvae, these are known as Pura chilensis, a sort of living rock with a soft, squishy interior. They're part of the tunicate family of marine invertebrates, a category of filter feeders which also includes sea squirts. They're a weird little bunch. Despite their unappetizing exteriors, Pura chilensis is actually a centuries-old Chilean delicacy that is finding its way into some of the country's top restaurants. And while it may be fairly common, its increasing popularity in fine dining in Chile means that exported versions of it are getting pricey. So, if you're vacationing in Chile and you happen to spot some on the beach, take them back with you and make a profit. But not too many, as puree is also the only animal in the animal kingdom to naturally contain high levels of vanadium in their blood, which can be toxic to humans in large doses.
Poison?
But no freaky sea creature compares price-wise to gooseneck barnacles. They may have a strange name and an even stranger appearance, but this crustacean is one of the priciest delicacies underwater on Earth, going for as much as $230 per kilo.
You're not kidding me.
What the hairballs?
In comparison, a prime rib often goes for $30 per kilo. And in September 2025, hundreds of goosenecks washed up on shore in the UK after a storm, aka winning the lottery ticket. Goose barnacles attach themselves to hard surfaces in the ocean, so once in a while, an old piece of flotsam washes up covered in these spooky suckers. The price of goose barnacles comes from how difficult it is to harvest them under normal circumstances, because it involves navigating treacherous tides and prizing them from dangerous rocks. In fact, on average, 5 people a year die from goose barnacle harvesting. So whoever found that pile on the beach is incredibly lucky and several $100s richer. Here's a pro tip for lucky looters out there. Seek ancient loot, so there's no owners to return it to. And that's what happened to amateur metal detectorist Chris Cutler when he found a mind-blowing gold hoard from the Anglo-Saxon era buried in a field in Essex, England. The coins, buried 1,500 years ago, took 4 days of scouring, a 17,000 square foot field to find, and are thought to be worth $13,000. That's not the first time Chris had struck gold either. He'd been a metal detectorist for over 25 years when he made this discovery and found more rare Anglo-Saxon coins at the same site 18 years ago, which are now housed at the British Museum. Damn, Chris, which field is this? I'm asking for a friend. But it's not an uncommon discovery either. In the UK alone, over 1,000 treasures a year have been discovered since 2013. which is why the Treasure Act came into effect in 1996, which dictates that all finds have to be reported and valued by an independent authority. They can then be purchased by a museum at that price, and only if they are refused can the treasure hunters keep the remains for themselves. If you're telling me I either get to keep some dusty coins or rake in a few grand for somebody else to take them, well, I know which one I'm choosing. Not all treasures are discovered in the ground. Some are found in the trash. See, back in 2018 in Edmonton, Canada, a homeless man named Adam Gilligan was digging through some dumpsters to see if he could find anything worth selling for some cash. One of his finds was a painting, which he sold at an antique store for $20. But after Adam left, the owner of the store recognized it as Bambi from the Disney movie and was even more surprised to find that the piece came with a certificate certifying it was a genuine gel animation cell from 1937. Animation cells are the transparent sheets that are drawn onto for hand-drawn animations, and so an authentic Disney animation cell would be beyond valuable, and definitely more than $20. And the story gets heartwarming here, because the owner sold the cell online for $2,700 and could have easily kept the money for himself. But he spent weeks driving around to find Adam so that he could split the cash with him. Since then, he set up a GoFundMe exceeding its $7,000 goal and managed to reunite Adam with his kids. It's a heartwarming tale of luck and friendship truly worthy of the Disney name. In 2016, this image was circulated of a genuinely mind-blowing discovery.
that's
A
Photoshop, in all
33-foot-long, 900-pound anaconda who allegedly greeted a team of workers in Brazil after a controlled explosion blew up a cave it was occupying.
Actually, no, that's not the truth, Alex.
At least that's
Oh,
what
thank
many
goodness.
publications reported happened. In actuality, this image has been circulating the interwebs for years and cited to construction sites across the world from North Carolina to Honduras. Well, myth-busting website Snopes managed to track the pic's origins to a forum from 2012, which claimed the snake was an 82-foot-long reticulated python found in a forest in Sumatra, Indonesia. And considering the longest verified reticulated python on record was still an impressive 25 feet, well, it's likely that this purported 80 feet plus size was just forced perspective from the angle the picture was taken. Still, 80 feet, 25 feet, either way, I'm not going near this beast with a 10-foot pole. While
gonna have to
carrying
agree with
out
that.
excavation
That I don't know anything about snakes, so unless I know for sure that thing won't bite me or try to swallow me, I'm good.
works for a new metro line in Rome in 2016, construction workers stumbled upon a jaw-dropping reminder of their city's incredible history. What initially seemed little more than an old, buried rock wall soon revealed forgotten mosaics, rooms, and eventually the full picture, an entire ancient Roman barracks. The expansive barracks, which stretch out almost 10,000 square feet, were used in the 2nd century AD, when Emperor Hadrian ruled. The site included a 330-foot hallway with 39 rooms, believed to have housed the emperor's finest personal guards.
Really?
As if the discovery wasn't impressive enough, the barracks also contained human bones, bronze coins, and bracelets. And it's likely that, over time, the building
Okay.
was destroyed and buried as foundational support for newer structures. But as for the bones, we can only guess at how they got there. Because of the exceptional find, the station's design was altered to
fair.
include the barracks, and hopefully, Boney the Roman will be manning the ticket office. Usually when a multi-million-dollar
Okay.
project is delayed, it's due to budget constraints, lack of resources, or similar complications.
That's the
But
usual
one
thing,
project
right?
in 2012 was halted by an extremely unusual interruption. Spiders. A type of
Huh?
spider called the bracken bat cave mesh weaver was responsible, and the stoppage wasn't because the builders were too scared to work. The spider, previously thought to be extinct, was found in the middle of a $15.1 million highway construction project in
what?
San Antonio, Texas. The specimen was found in a 6-foot-long underground
Fucking
spider
stink.
hole and was identified by its strange, translucent body. As the species hadn't been spotted in 30 years, construction was halted until the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and Federal Highway Administration determined the best way forward. 2 years later, they made their decision, and much to the dismay of the project's financial team. To continue without disturbing the translucent eyeless spider's habitat, it was determined that the original plan to construct an underpass would be redesigned as an overpass. And this meant that the cost of the project increased by $30 million. That's got to be the most expensive do not disturb sign of all time. Now, if you'd like to learn what...
Honestly, there is a lot of things that were interesting. From mummies actually being able to be in perfectly good condition after years, to finding gold, finding ancient artifacts. Yeah, we know the list. So it's amazing to hear all these different tales about it. So, honestly, which one of these things is, like, the coolest thing to you? In personal opinion. Honestly, it still has to be the mummy thing for me. Because to find a mummy that's in perfectly good condition from a very, very long time ago is amazing, in my personal opinion. So I'd like to hear your opinion on which of these things is the most amazingest discovery to you. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification button. Again, tell me what you think is the most amazing thing from this list. And I'll be sure to see you all in the next video. Bye!